Thanks for staying with us. Now, the government has called on the private sector to invest in a program that is to see all public learning institutions use cooking gas as opposed to other options that are currently in use in some schools. What does this plan entail? What is being done to shield the staff and learners from the risks? NTV's Brian George Otieno spoke to Petroleum Principal Secretary Mohamed Liban on this. Here now is that conversation.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mohamed Liban, the PS for Petroleum, and congratulations on your recent mentioning, or rather awarding by the President of the CBS. Talk to us briefly about the LPG program that's being launched out for schools to cook with.
The schools already, we have done a survey, online survey with the Ministry of Education last year, and we got about 7,000 responses. Out of that one, it was very surprising, whereby 97% of these schools are using charcoal and firewood. Okay? So it is good to get rid of this, charcoal and also fire from the school to give them, the LPG. So that is why His Excellency the President, just a few days ago, commissioned a national launch for this, so that in partnership, with others, will be able to move forward. So that those are the three thematic areas.
Having LPG in schools will mean that there'll be an extra layer of security that's needed. How are you supporting these schools so that they are safe even when they're using these gases to cook? Because this may expose students, learners, cooks to extra layers of exposure. And so there needs to be a fortification of the security.
What we are dealing, with the school is actually LPG. LPG is a hazardous product. The products that is good for environment, and that's also, good, for consumption. But if anything happens, it is disastrous. Sure. So what, as the ministry, what we have done is that we have put all the regulation in place to make sure that people should work and do this work, within the regulations. So the regulation I've already mentioned is one of the thematic areas. Yeah. So regulations, documentation is already in place to make sure that, for the users, for policymakers, and also for regulators. That is one. When we are coming to infrastructure, this infrastructure is, within the school. Yes. Security is a very paramount important. Sure. So from a structural point of view, we have already made, a perimeter wall, actually which is enclosed for this, bullets to be installed. It is very secure inside. And at the same time, from that security, it is a pipeline which goes, to the kitchen. And the kitchen also, we have put the leak detectors. So if anything comes out, from the leak, then this leak detector will switch it off completely, that there will be no explosion, and any urgent action can be taken. So infrastructure is enclosed, well protected, and well guarded by that. Thirdly, apart from the infrastructure, for Jamhuri in particular, we have already trained the cooks on how to handle this, and also we have trained, the management in that line. So apart from now training, then it is also the responsibility of the ministry to do the monitoring. You cannot leave them there, so there will be constant checks and balances to make sure that, everything is now going as planned. So those are the things at least we have put in measures in place. And the constant, monitoring will be going on by our technical staff to make sure that everything is now in proper, among the other measures we have put in place.
This move is aimed at climate change mitigation. What are the metrics of measurement of the impact of having LPG for cooking in schools?
We have said actually a point, and we also echo the directive of our President, His Excellency William Ruto, is that he actually pronounced himself that we will have, to plant 15 billion trees in 10 years. Sure. He has a reason for it, because already climate change is real. When it rains, we have a lot of water and there's a lot of distractions. Sure. In the process, the government uses a lot of money to make sure that life is not lost and properties, has to be redone again, especially like roads and dams and whatever. When it is dry, the drought comes, then the drought is also very severe enough. Like last season, this country lost about 2.5 million livestock because of the drought. And that one is based, with the climate change. So in line with that, LPG is also contribute to make sure that, our tree cover is actually protected. At the moment, with LPG, consumption is about 7.5, and we want to reach it, up to 15 per capita per year. We are very far from that. When it comes to penetration, we are at 24%, and we want to reach there by to 70% in the next few years. So which means LPG is a green energy that provides, clean environment, okay, and at the same time also it contributes, to the climate change. How does it contribute to the climate change? Is that in the kitchens, I tell that the online survey we did, we got about 97% of the school using charcoal and firewood. Where do you think this charcoal and firewood coming from? It's from our forest. So which means we have been destroying, our forest in line with that one. So for our case, as much as now, His Excellency has directed that we plant the trees. We also make sure that there's no cutting down of the trees anyhowly. And now LPG provides that one to the school to make sure that we retain, our tree cover, okay? So that, people don't be using charcoal or whatever. So that one has also climate covered. We plant at the same time, you reduce, the destruction or deforestation in that line. That is one thing of the project. Number two, also, use of charcoal in the kitchen. We have got some documentaries we made, is that this charcoal, usually generates soot in the kitchen. So soot goes, to the respiratory system and make sure that, those who are working there are becoming sick. So if they are sick, their productivity becomes less. So by providing LPG, so you are providing cleaner environment to make sure that our staff who are supporting, the students in the schools become healthier without any doing it. Number two, cutting down, the trees or whatever is costly because there's time, to look for these trees, to burn them and that one. But by having LPG, it is readily available, and then the time which is consumed is going to be preserved for other activities. Either the manager can do their meeting, they can teach, our children. Also, the cooks who are there, they'll be working in a healthy environment, which is good for their health. So in this case, it has got a lot of health component, which is good for our children and also for our staff who are working there. At the same time, also, it is in line, with the presidential directives to make sure that we increase the tree cover for our country.
Are there other alternative uses and other industries you're targeting with this LPG program uptake?
We have a short-term plan and also a long-term plan. We are now starting with the public schools because public schools are a bit more vulnerable to the others. That is what's starting. But of course, establishing this project is also resources to reach the entire mass. Because for now, we have got about 11,000 schools. That needs, to be given, the gas. But if resources are available and more partners come in, it is not only school. We have our public, hospitals which are using, charcoal at the kitchen. Okay? Hospitals will be also a long-term beneficiary. Number two, the police station. Congested, okay? With the little, infrastructure, but also they need, the dignity for our police officers to have, the dignity of doing it. So we also targeting the police stations. Thirdly, also the prisons, over-congested with no particular infrastructure. NYS. So those are the long-term plans. If you get resources through our partners, as you have said, we cannot just leave it there, but we will be able, to move. That one will take about 10 or whatever years, but those are long-term plans. But we have to start from somewhere. Start our children first, students, and then we grow as we move.
By the way, between using LPG and cooking with charcoal and firewood, which one is more affordable and why?
From our assessment at the moment is that it is cheaper to use than using the charcoal because once we have the at the moment now we are just doing spot purchases because we don't have that properly regulated idea. So for now LPG is being just the price is being just done by individuals. But once you have the bulk procurement, that will make it very competitive, and that one of course will reduce the price. And once we establish the value chain of this LPG, definitely the prices of LPG will come down and we'll be able to reach, more Kenyans in that line.
In that case, how will these costs affect the cost of schooling, school fees, and school feeding programs?
No, the total cost of the school, in that case, it's now the expenditures that. So because, you have the school fees, you have other administrative costs. This is just, I'm just looking at the global expenditure. So if the cost of, if you are now converting from firewood to charcoal, and now using the LPG, you see the school will be doing, some saving.
Pretty much.
Yes, some saving. So in that case, I'm just looking at the total expenditure, what the school is going through.
Okay.
So in near future, then there will be saving on LPG, okay? And then maybe the cost of the school will be able to, yeah.
But PS, once again, what will this cost the school to put up these LPG units for cooking?
What we have done, so far that we have categorized the school. There are some schools we have got lower number of students, population. There are some actually have either 1 stream, 2 stream, 3 streams. So the schools, with population of 500 students, we're actually giving them, according to our estimate, is about 1 ton. Okay? But the one, with 500, we are giving about 2 tons. So in this case, of course, the expenditure will vary depending on the student populations. But what we have done so far for this is 20 schools we have piloted. The total cost for installation is about between 3 to 5 or 6 there, depending on the number. Okay. So in this case, it depends, with the total population of the students. If there are very few, maybe the cost will come down to 3. But if there are more, there will be also even 5. But there are some schools, with even triple clusters with. So that one is now depends with consumptions of the student there. Yes, per capita.
Thank you so much, PS Liban, for making time for us on NTV. We really appreciate it.